The iPhone 15 Pro now replaces the 2022 iPhone 14 Pro, and it actually brings over 35 new features and improvements to Apple's high-end smartphones. If you want to see the full list, you can visit the link in the description down below. Now, this video is going to mostly highlight the 15 Pro and the 14 Pro, but we will touch on one of the biggest differences for the 15 Pro Max. Now, starting off with design, we've heard a ton about the new titanium chassis with contoured edges on the 15 Pro, and that is a key design difference over the stainless steel chassis on the 14 Pro. There are also thinner bezels around the display, which leads to a slightly smaller overall footprint, but not entirely sure that's going to be noticeable when you hold it in the hand. Now, in the hand with the rest of the design, I do think there's a reasonable difference. It feels lighter because it is 19 grams lighter compared to the 14 Pro, and the contoured edges just lead to a more comfortable experience. On the inside, we do have the new A17 Pro chip, which is based on a 3nm process, over the A16 Bionic, which is a 5nm chip. The A17 Pro now brings a 6-core CPU, which is up to 10 times faster than the previous 6-core CPU. And there's a new 6-core GPU with hardware-accelerated ray tracing for the console-level gaming that Apple showed off at the keynote. This gives a 20% increase over the 5-core GPU that was in the 14 Pro. There's also still a 16-core neural engine, but apparently this new one is now 2 times faster than the previous model. Also, for those wondering, the RAM is now up to 8 gigabytes on the 15 Pro compared to the 6 gigs that's found on the 14 Pro, so there is in fact a RAM increase this year. There's also no longer a ring silent switch, which has actually been on the iPhone since it was first launched, but now it's being replaced by an action button, which can be used to not only switch your phone from ring to silent or vice versa, but also a number of other custom actions like launching your camera, turning on the flashlight, and it can even be programmed to do almost anything you want via the use of a custom shortcut. When it comes to the cameras, you can now take 24 and 48 megapixel super high resolution photos, which you were only limited to 48 megapixel photos that were possible on the 14 Pro. And on the new 15 Pro, you can now change between more focal lengths like 13, 24, 28, 35, and 77 millimeter lenses, all ranging from 0.5x to 3x optical zoom. But if you have the Pro Max, this is where the biggest difference lies here. You do get a 5x telephoto lens that allows users to take photos at a 120 millimeter focal length. You also get the next generation portraits with focus and depth controls that can actually be adjusted after a photo has been taken, and there have been improvements to night mode and night mode portraits. ProRes video recording can now go up to 4K at 60 frames per second with external recording, and this was previously limited to 4K 30 frames per second. You can also shoot video in a log format, and for those who plan to get an Apple Vision Pro, you can now shoot spatial videos. You can also shoot and instantly transfer 48 megapixel ProRAW images to your Mac and record video directly to an external drive. And this is a good transition into the fact that this new iPhone 15 Pro has a brand new USB-C port, which is USB 3, and brings faster USB transfer speeds going from USB 2, which was at 480 megabits per second on the 14 Pro, all the way up to 10 gigabytes per second, which is 20 times faster on the 15 Pro. As far as the rest of the connectivity goes, there's now Wi-Fi 6E available compared to Wi-Fi 6 on the 14 Pro. There's a second generation ultra-wideband chip, which now connects from 3 times further away and can let users track their friends using Find My and precision tracking. So if you got somebody lost in a crowd, you can find them like you would find an AirTag, of course, if they let you do that. The iPhone 15 Pro also supports Qi 2 charging, which the 14 Pro only supports standard Qi charging, and the 15 Pro comes in at 128 gigabytes for the starting model, and it goes all the way up to 1 terabyte of storage, which is the same as the 14 Pro, but with the Pro Max model, it does start at $256 and it's $100 more expensive. There is no 128 gig model. But you do get that extra bump in storage, which is always nice. As far as colors go, this year we have natural titanium, blue, white, and black titanium compared to the 14 Pro's deep purple, gold, silver, and space black color options. Overall, I think the 15 Pro is actually a fairly significant upgrade over the 14 Pro. It introduces meaningful quality of life features like the USB-C port and the action button that actually changes the way we interact with our iPhone. I usually try not to recommend year-over-year upgrades because there's usually not that much to upgrade from. But for the most part, the iPhone 15 Pro does have quite a few new features like we just talked about over the 14 Pro, and again, it carries all of those new improvements for me to say that, yeah, I think it would actually be a pretty decent upgrade for you, especially if you go for the Pro Max and get that 5x optical telephoto camera. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the 15 Pro over the 14 Pro. If you're thinking of getting one of these two new phones, maybe you're upgrading from something older and you're thinking about saving money and getting a 14 Pro, or just biting the bullet and getting the brand new 15 Pro, let me know what you plan on doing in the comments down below. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.